And welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast, found at the rebelradiopodcast.com, where you can find links to all the wonderful places you can listen to our show, audio, all the on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcast, and more. Because that is the number one question I always get. Well, how can I listen to the podcast? And then you send them to the website. They're like, well, where are the website? I'm like, good Lord, man, this is 2025. Can you not navigate a website even on your phone?
Yeah, just, Google it. It'll pop up.
It's like, it's not hard. But no, I don't want that to sound ungrateful. I will help you navigate the website if you need it. And, and we also have a Facebook group and a Facebook page and Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff too. So plenty of places.
We're working on an OnlyFans, but
it's
in the works.
Going to be sexy podcasting.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I've been told I have a sexy voice. So I don't know. I've heard that I heard you sound like a closet gay guy, but I'm just,
We took an internal employee poll, and they said you sound like a closet gay guy. Like, you're the only other one.
Yeah.
Hey man, I just report.
I mean, there's only 3 employees in this operation, so
I know, right?
It's got to be one.
You were long.
Yeah. But man, I am. So we are back from Comicpalooza 2025, and I feel a little bit sometimes because I've worked with the convention for 15 years that I feel like I can't say much negative without it possibly getting back to people that shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm going to anyway because maybe they need to hear this stuff if they hear it. But like the con it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I have a good time when I'm there. But it was it needs an upgrade. To be fair, it kind of felt like the same old stuff. The same cars, the same fan tables. I missed the days when you had wrestling and Harry Potter Kidditch and roller derby and all that upstairs. It was a lot of fun. The big gaming tournaments, which have been toned down to a small room now. Maybe I missed the old days is what it is, because it feels like it's been the exact same thing 3 or 4 years in a row now. But I do enjoy, I still had a good time. Enjoyed talking to some friends. Enjoyed watching Texas All-Star Wrestling. We sat down and watched a whole one of their shows on Sunday because they were put on hour-long shows. We had front row seats, so that was fun to watch the wrestling. And overall, I enjoy the vibe of it. We podcasted on Saturday night, and I'll be honest, I didn't go to any panels this year. I think this is the first year I've ever not going to a single panel.
Yeah.
There just wasn't. The one I wanted to see was Friday night. I wasn't there. I was Hayden Christian. So beyond that, I didn't care. But we gave our panel, and the negatives there was, I get like being part of the podcast program, being a co-coordinator, volunteer on it, that they want to have a show on the floor to get that show vibe, but fucking stop it. Put us all in panel rooms. I could barely hear you half the time, and not your fault. It's because we have wrestling, we have medieval fighting, and we have the Eureka Bar and Ren Fair all right next to us, all making different types of noises. So the noise was ridiculous. It was hard to get into that vibe when you feel like you're having to talk over a lot of noise. And then not only that, we were the last one on Saturday, and frankly, we had no audience. It felt like we were talking to my 2 children that were there. And it was, and I felt it coming from you too. It wasn't our faults at all. Not your fault, not my fault. We were just trying to get a vibe, and we couldn't.
Yeah.
We couldn't get, you and me could not get a vibe even off of each other, which we do week to week for 10 years. We get a vibe off of each other, but we had trouble getting a vibe the other night. And quite frankly, it sucked. I haven't listened to see if the audio came out, and I really don't care. I mean, because I'm probably not going to release it because it's just it's a non-Bible-licious show. And that's the negatives. I hate to be negative, but it's just a fact, man. We got stuck at 6:00. The few people that sat down were just resting. All the noise, it just wasn't a good podcast vibe, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you get slotted in the first or last spot, it's not good.
We've had the first spot. It was 2 years ago we had the first spot. I thought it was last year. But it was 2 years ago. It was last year we did Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago, I think, we got put early. I'm trying to remember. Because I know.
Oh, that was the Star Wars. We did episode 1, right? Revisit.
Right.
Yeah.
Revisit episode 1. And
we
got
some
put
trivia.
early.
Yeah.
Yes. And we did have a little bit of audience for that, but it was mostly friends. It was Jared and Justin and, it was people we knew. It wasn't like extra
Rob
people.
Zip. Yeah.
But
yeah,
so it's unfortunate.
It's definitely better to be in the middle of the day. People have walked around. You get those people that are sitting. You get a lot of people that are passing by. And they may catch a whiff of what you're saying and they stop and they listen. Plus you have, your supporters and your friends or fans that happen to be there.
Right.
So you get like a collective of all that. And usually midday, no matter, what your podcast is about, you've got, a hefty amount of listeners versus like, Friday, that the first podcast had, 2 people, if you include me, so it was rough. And then I think they eventually ended up with like 4. But it's like, same thing.
And then after that, because I walked by a few times on Saturday, then because I was kind of volunteering and helping, and mostly you're right, the 10 o'clock one had hardly anybody. And then after that, there were usually people in the seats,
Yeah.
And I sat and watched most of Fusion Hall, which was a great, they put on a good podcast, but it's the first and last slots, and it's unfortunate that's the way it's got to be. And in the first slot, people are still getting inside or they're checking out the floor. They're not even thinking about going to sit down and watch a podcast yet. And then the last slot is they're trying to buy the last minute things. They're trying to get everything done in case they're not coming the next day. They're ready to get out the door. They're hungry. We were at dinner time slot, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But the pause is, hey, we thank Comicpalooza every year. We really do, because we do appreciate it. We enjoy it. And we're not giving up on it or anything. I'm sure we'll be back next year doing another podcast. And again, it's something for our city to have. It is a good pop culture convention. I walked away with some cool wrestling figures and some other cool. I picked up a Batman Begins McFarlane figure. So I walked away with some cool stash, and ran into some friends and talked to them and had a good time and shot lots of video for the YouTube channel. And, so there's some positives to it too. We're grateful to have that spot to showcase our podcast, even if it wasn't a good vibe this year. And we've had some years we've had great vibes. We've had lots of audience interaction and we've had lots of people in the audience. It was just hard to get that vibe this year.
Yeah, you're going to have peaks and valleys. Like I remember that one time we did the Batman Returns panel, and
that was in a panel room, and we had quite a few people.
Yeah,
you need to put all podcasts in a panel room, get them off the floor.
Yeah, it was good because everyone could hear. There's no distractions, and you're getting people that are going out of their way to check you out because they have to leave the show floor,
right?
And they have to go upstairs.
I'm curious what kind of audiences they had up in 330, the other podcast room. I'm wondering, how that went.
I went up there Friday night, and it was a cosplay, a cosplay podcast track, and there was a few people. It was like maybe four or five.
Friday night,
yeah. And then, Ming was on after, but I was like, they gave me the opportunity to leave and I had been there all day. So I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I did make it to a panel. It just, it wasn't, by the time a relief got there for me on Friday, I didn't realize what time it was and I missed the Hayden Christensen panel. And, by the time I would have been able to go there, it would have just been like 15 minutes. So I didn't even bother by the time you get upstairs. But I did, my son, one of his favorite YouTube channels was there. and it was called Death Battle. And they did free photo ops, so he got a photo op with them, and got his con badge signed by all the members. And so basically, they take different characters. They've done Goku versus Superman, where Goku dies. They've killed Goku in like multiple matchups. So, and so people were asking about that. And then at the end of their panel, they aired a episode that was not going to be released until noon the next day. And so we got to see that. And that was Wile E. Coyote versus Tom Cat from Tom and Jerry. And I predicted, now that it's been out, I can say, I predicted Wile E. Coyote, and that's who they had win. And they show you why. So they break it down. They did one with Magneto versus Tetsuo from Akira. And, I think in that one, Magneto wins by turning the excess blood whenever Tetsuo mutates into metal and cuts him up from the inside.
But how does he turn the blood into metal? That doesn't even make sense.
I think I forget. I forget how.
I didn't know Magneto was Jesus turning blood into wine, blood into metal.
Well, remember in X2, remember how he escapes.
Oh, he pulled the mercury out of the blood.
Too much. No, he says too much iron in your blood,
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
which that was a stretch even in X2.
Yeah, but it makes it canon. It makes it canon now.
That's the one. It's funny you brought that. That's the one part. I don't think I mentioned that when we did X2 on the podcast, but that's one part that always bugged me. I'm like, no, Magneto couldn't do that.
It's a cool line. I like the line. Too much iron in your blood. But yeah, that was fun.
And that's what's cool. Like the kids, man. Like I had a good time Sunday. I took the kids to the Kidtopia, and they walked around and made some stuff. And then, Wyatt had a great time watching the wrestlers, and he got to meet a couple of them and got his badge signed by a couple of wrestlers. And
did you get to meet Rikishi? Was he there?
We did go shake Rikishi's hand. Yes, we did not pay for an autograph, but we did go shake his hand, and and that was cool. And he was just sitting there, and he said, "Yeah, man, good to meet you guys." And we just chatted for about a minute, and so and that's what it's ultimately about, is the kids having a good time. And I was going to go say hi to Godfather, at least shake his hand, but then he got up and walked away to take a break as I was approaching. So,
damn,
but it's okay. But yeah, so that's what's cool, is kids have a good time, and us adults, we can complain, but no one cares, and we still have a good time in our way. And like I said, I still had a good time. I just wish the podcast had gone better for us, and I wish there wasn't so much fucking excess noise. I mean, that's like. We're on microphones and speakers, and there were times I couldn't hear you. I don't know how you were hearing me, but I was just like, I just could not hear you a couple of times.
It was barely, because it's like all those places have something going on. They have, like you said, the wrestling, the medieval, and then Eureka. They were having like trivia every other hour, for giveaways, and it looked like they were raffling off some things. I always buy like one or two of their beers, but this year I was being frugal, so I only had like I think I had one, but yeah, and then the photo op was fun. We had to wait an hour and a half for the photo op, and I was in group 1, and the VIP was long, but Hayden was super cool. I saw, it's weird how social media works, is you start getting like all these other things that you mention thrown your way. And a lot of people on TikTok had done this, the photo op. And there were women that came, and they had him pick them up, like hold them like if he was like carrying them from like a burning building or something like that. And I was like, dang, I said, I wonder,
you asked, didn't you? And he was like, no dudes.
Can you hold me? Hayden? Tell me I'm the chosen one. No. But, yeah. But he shook my son's hand, and, he told him he was a fan, a big fan of his, and and he said thanks, and I was like, man, thanks for coming to Houston, thanks for coming, cool to meet you. And he just seemed like a really chill, super cool guy. I found the site where he had his little Death Star in the shape of Texas shirt, and I ordered it. It came in today.
Oh, that's so cute. Now you're gonna dress like your hero.
Yeah, well, at least the same shirt. I don't want to get the Alouettes, that Canadian team, the Alouettes hat. I don't think I'd go that far. But the shirt, definitely, that was a cool shirt. I couldn't deny that. But yeah, that was fun. Went by fast. I wish I would have gone to his panel, but man, weird day. On a Friday, like you said.
Yeah,
when he's not even doing anything.
It had to be a scheduling thing. I don't know, man. That's the only thing I could think. And
yeah,
and then then you did Tamara Morrison separately. Like, why didn't they do a group panel with the two of them? Hayden and Tamara. Did they interact on screen? I'm trying to think. As Jango Fett.
Not really. No, they were in the same movie,
right? I don't think they interacted on screen. It was more Obi-Wan and Jango interacting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess that's why they never really interacted.
But yeah, you could have easily done a Star Wars panel with him.
I think they did Tamara Morrison and Ming-Na Wen. I think their panel was together. It was like a Book of Boba Fett panel.
Book of Boba Fett on Sunday.
Yeah,
but she's looking older, especially without makeup and the Boba Fett suit on.
but I mean, I think about the years that we've gone to Comicpalooza and the opportunities, it's given me to have witnessed. So I got to see James O'Barr talk about The Crow, and I got to meet Ernie Hudson. I got to meet Tony Todd. I shook his hand. Yeah. I got to watch the cast of Aliens reminisce about their 20th anniversary.
Yeah,
I got to see Rosario Dawson talk until she kept going on about women's rights and lost me in the conversation. And I walked out. And nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I'm here to watch, Rosario. I want to hear about your movies and the experiences you have. And when you started going off about women's rights, I walked out of the panel. That's just, and again, nothing against women's rights. I'm all for it. But that's not what I'm at Comicpalooza to hear you talk about. I got to meet Jason Mewes because of Comicpalooza. And, and become friends with Ming Chen, not maybe on a personal level, but somewhat. And I didn't talk to him as much this year. Just kind of walked by and waved to him. He said, he goes, hey, Mark. So he remembered my name. But he was busy talking to somebody else. So I just went on and, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, just the opportunities I've had. Danny Trejo, man. I mean, behind me on the wall, you can almost see it over my head as my autograph, Danny Trejo art, So, I mean, there have been opportunities that Comicpalooza has presented me over the years. I'm always grateful for that. And like I said, I think that was we counted, that was our 10th year. So wish the 10th anniversary of the podcast at Comicpalooza could have been better. And I don't know, I'll see if the audio came out. And if it's releasable and I feel it's worth it, maybe I'll think about it. But just did not enjoy the vibe of it. I enjoyed everything else. I just didn't enjoy our podcast vibe. That's honestly it. Everything else was fine. Just wish we could have had a better show. And again, not your or my fault. It's just the situation we were put in. 6 o'clock, lots of noise around us. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oof, as they say.
Oof. That's a good way of putting it.
But yeah, man. So Comicpalooza, good times. Good times,
man.
So yeah, man, other than that, man, I'm still tired from it. I haven't quite recovered. I'm getting old. I'm just honest. My feet have been killing me all week. I went straight to work Monday. I haven't really had time to fully recover, if I'm being honest. And I was home by 5 o'clock on Sunday. And so I wasn't even there as late. I'm just like, I forgot a little bit of con crud, as you can hear my voice, and just it's taken me a bit to recover from it this year. But this weekend, I have really nothing going, so hopefully I can get some rest. And,
Maybe that's what it was. I know, obviously, working overnight, just being up during those hours really jacks up the sleep schedule. Maybe that's part of it for me, but I feel the same way, just a little tired. I did check out a few things, nothing new. We were going to try and see How to Train Your Dragon today, but it just didn't happen. And then whenever we were about to, it started raining like crazy. And I was like, well, I don't want to go out in this.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a wait for Peacock movie for me.
Yeah. It usually, if I miss it opening weekend and we don't go see it the next week,
within the first 2 weeks, yeah,
it's a wait for Peacock for me too. But I did, my son had not seen Jumper, and
he didn't miss nothing.
Yeah, it's not the greatest film. It's a cool concept. It's just, it's a 2000s, random it's not even a superhero movie. It's a superpower movie, like Push, or one of those other random
There are a lot of those
films.
Yeah.
I Am Number 7 or I Am Number 4, whatever that movie was. He liked it. He thought it was enjoyable. But it just doesn't, the second and third watch isn't there. And we also, we were talking Superman this weekend, and there was even other podcasts that were talking like DCEU stuff, and they brought up Batman v Superman, and this was Colt 45, and I like Colt 45. Brandon and Randy, always
I didn't even run into the fellas all weekend. I kept looking for them, and
yeah, man,
missed them.
They were making fun of me Friday. They're like, why'd you volunteer? Why you volunteering, man? You're one of us. You're one of us. You're a media pass. Why are you volunteering? And I was like, hey man, there's perks to volunteering too. And he's like, man, I saw you get in early this morning and skip the line. He's like, maybe there's something to that volunteer pass. I was like, yeah. But they were having a quiz. One of the questions was, who's the guy that Bruce Wayne got upset that he died and passed away, and he's like, screaming on the phone. It's a picture of Bruce screaming on the. He's like, what? Who's the guy that was the reason for all those push-ups and the workout montage with Batman and everything, and no one could guess the name. So it was funny. But it made me want to watch it again. And it's not as bad as people thought.
No,
I am still entertained by it. But yeah, I just checked out those two things, and I've been watching, a random chick flick-esque drama with Jackie. It's called The Summer I Got Pretty. So I've been catching some of that. I wouldn't know. I never got pretty during a summer. So I'm trying to figure out what that's like.
Right. I'm sure you were watching that with absolutely full intent. Like, man, I'm going to learn some new things here.
Yeah. Oh, I also caught that new piece of footage from the Superman.
The clip. Yeah.
The clip where he goes John Wick.
Yeah. I mean, I always feel like with clips without the context, I don't read too much into them. It's weird though. There's a lot of people on X and stuff claiming they've seen the film already and they're not allowed to talk about it. I don't think anyone's actually seen it because from what I've read, other than Warner Brothers Gazettes, there's been no U.S. screenings of this movie yet. And that's why James Gunn has been overseas, though, right? James Gunn has been overseas showing the film to private critics and audiences, not fans. And very little has leaked out officially because there's an embargo until like July 7th or 8th or something like that. Once the U.S. premiere happens. So I think it's just people trying to stir up hits and views on their Twitters.
Maybe
because you can even tell. I watched one of them and you can tell like the dude it comes across very fake. Like you haven't seen this movie, dude. Because there's been no U.S. screenings as far as people know.
I saw one guy claiming that he knew somebody that saw it, and they are.
Oh, sure, I know
saying,
someone too.
Yeah, I know a guy who knows a guy, but claiming that it's like an episode of Superman, Justice League,
Well, until you get, how you have the critics premiere before the world premiere, right? You get those initial first reactions from critics that aren't allowed to fully review, but they're allowed. When those come out, then the fan screenings and stuff usually start happening. And I haven't seen any of those yet. There hasn't been any early critic screenings or anything like that. So I'm not sweating it too much. I think the film's going to be fine. I have a really good feeling about it, So yeah, I'm going to see it regardless, of what is said about it. Just like the film that comes out next week, that's a sequel to the movie we're talking today, I'm going to go see regardless, because
yes,
I think I'm going to go see it probably next Saturday, I'm thinking. So yeah, so it doesn't matter. Make your own opinion, people. But I in these 4 days since we went to Comicpalooza, I have not really watched anything. I'll be honest. I just haven't really I've flipped through things. I've thought about watching something, and I just haven't really had the desire to watch anything. Just played some video games and watched some YouTube stuff, and so I have slacked this week big time. But I'll try to get back on the schneid next week. But so that said, let's get into today's featured film, man. And who doesn't love giant monster movies, as we well know we do here on the Rebel Radio podcast. Talked some monster movies over the years, Godzilla. We've done a couple of the films from this series. And so we are skipping Jurassic Park 3, not because I don't like it. It just felt like with a new Jurassic World film coming out, it was a good time to revisit the relaunch of the series, so to speak, and discuss the first Jurassic World that came out 10 years ago, 2015. And, as we get ready for Jurassic World Rebirth next week for coming out the 4th of July weekend. And first off, I think Jurassic World Rebirth looks really cool. And I am excited to see it. I'm down for big dinosaurs eating people. I hope lots of people get eaten, and that's what I'm there for.
Yeah, man. It looks like a horror movie.
Yeah. And so, like I said, we covered Jurassic Park, which is, of course, an all-time classic.
Mm-hmm.
And we covered The Lost World, which is decent, but not Jurassic Park. So we're just going to skip 3 and jump to the 4th movie in this series when they decided to reboot it with Jurassic World, directed by Colin Trevorrow. And I believe Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment produced it, so they kept it in the family.
Yes.
And Spielberg almost came back to direct it, but opted not to instead. And they let Colin Trevorrow direct it because Spielberg felt the franchise needed new blood. And he's not wrong for that, I mean, Spielberg did 2 of these movies. What else is he going to do? Make another Spielbergian Jurassic movie?
Yeah.
So it's okay that he moved on. And there's nothing wrong with that because Colin Trevorrow's direction of this is actually pretty good. When I essentially, to summarize this movie, it's several years after the original park, and it's a new owner of the rights to the Jurassic Parks. And he decides to reopen a new one on another island called Jurassic World. Voila. Where bigger, better, more evil dinosaurs, but perfectly safe, of course, for all the people. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so Chris Pratt plays Owen, who is a sort of like a park ranger. He works for the Velociraptors, and it's just kind of your tough guy that's in the movie. And Bryce Dallas Howard plays the tour. She works for the park, and she has to take care of her nephews. So, kids are involved. Shenanigans are going to ensue. And of course they do. They're working on a hybrid of a dinosaur that's a mix of several things, and it gets out, of course. And that's when the chaos ensues. The kids get separated. Owen has to help rescue the kids along with Bryce Dallas Howard in heels. And we get lots of dinosaur action. And we get the greatest Royal Rumble of dinosaurs battling at the end of this movie that you'll ever see, which I think is fucking awesome. And that essentially summarizes Jurassic World. And first off, my initial reaction, I remember seeing this in theaters. I took Michael to see it. He was about 7 years old or so. And that I do think Trevorrow does a good job of recapturing the wonder of the original Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. I feel like there's a sense of excitement at the beginning of the film, the way it opens up, the cinematography, opening it, showing the park, the first time a dinosaur is shown. He really tries to capture that Spielberg vibe, and it stays throughout most of the film. And I think that's one thing. I feel like this takes the idea of Jurassic Park and tries to make it bigger and more exciting, but yet it's its own thing. Certainly there's similarities. There's going to be, but I feel like it's different enough that it's separate from Jurassic Park to become Jurassic World. And I really like this movie quite a bit. I'll be honest, it's probably my second favorite in the series, next to the original Jurassic Park. I really think it's a great film. It's exciting. It's got great set pieces, great moments. Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt, like he always is in most of his movies, and that's okay because it works for the part of who Owen's supposed to be. And that was my initial reactions to this movie when I saw it, that I walked out of the theater. Really liked the last 15 minutes, the fight between the T-Rex and the Velociraptors and the giant other dinosaur that comes out of the water and all that. I mean, it's some just really great moments in the last 10, 15 minutes of this movie, which I felt like watching the first three, the original trilogy. Like, I always wanted a big dinosaur fight. We never really got it. And we finally get it in this movie.
Yeah, you only get like a little snippet of it at the end of Jurassic Park. And that's whenever the T-Rex, saves them for the raptors. And it's just very, very quick.
And we finally get that big dinosaur fight in Jurassic World, and it's freaking great. But that's my initial reactions to Jurassic World. I know you saw this. This is about the year we started the podcast. We probably talked about it back then when it came out.
We probably did. And what's funny is I get reminders for, from Google Photos, and a photo of me and Jake with the caption Jurassic World, time popped up, about a week or so ago. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, we're going to talk about this. And look, I was like, this is about, I was like, it was around the 12th or the 13th. So it was of this month. So it was exactly, I think we saw it the opening day or the day after. And I just remember it being, a good balance of, new with a lot of homage to the original and what made the original great. The wonder of the dinosaurs, obviously kids, having a couple kids involved. I think, that might be where, the second and third one kind of lost their way. Well, the third one tried to do something with kids. It just, a kid, it just didn't work very well. And, making it all raptors, it just, I don't think it did that great. I think they, we can get into Jurassic Park 3 another day, I guess. But I feel like, Jurassic Park 3 just kind of underachieved.
I feel like if we relaunch the Patreon like we're talking about doing, it's going to be a Patreon episode.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely could be. Especially like next year. Next year it turns 25.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that movie in theaters with my dad. My dad loved Jurassic Park.
I remember not hated it. It was just very underwhelming after the two Spielberg films.
Yeah. Definitely underwhelming. They definitely had a good concept. We got to get guns, got to go, save a kid, and there's dinosaurs, involved, and we got to escape. But yeah, this movie, like you said, there's a lot of, world building here. I like that they transition to Isla Sorno, the original island. And you get to see the original Jurassic Park Jeeps in there. You have, the amber ring on the new director of the park's hand. And obviously that's an homage to Richard Attenborough, and his character. Dr.
Masrani, I think, played by the late Irfan Khan. Always a good character actor when you saw him in movies.
Yeah. And I like his character in this one. I like that he likes to do things himself. He's a pilot. Unfortunately gets taken out by the by the pterodactyl during the
Yeah,
pterodactyl
right.
swarm.
I'm always going to remember him though, mostly from Life of Pi. That's the movie I'll always remember him. I know he's in this too.
Yeah. And then of course Bryce Dallas Howard. I read this from the trivia. She's obviously dressed in white, and that was done on purpose to also pay homage to him as well. And of course, if that wasn't enough, you even have one of the techs that's in the room. He's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, it's vintage. I got it. I found it on eBay." And I like that they've they incorporated the original in so much because nostalgia sells, and I think they did a good job of acknowledging and bringing some stuff back. Obviously, there's callbacks at the end whenever they're trying to confront the Indominus, and they call on the T-Rex, and she has the flare, and she she throws the flare. And we get the T-Rex versus the Indominus fight. I like that InGen is in this movie.
Yes, I forgot to mention them.
Yes,
the evil InGen who wants to basically capture a dinosaur or two for their own use to make their own island.
Yes,
and well, not even make their own island. They want that island to fail and then look like heroes because they saved the island and be like, look, hey, we're heroes. We're going to make one that actually works.
Yeah, we're going to take it over. They've always wanted to, use the dinosaurs for personal gain, and I think this movie, led by their effort, led by Vincent D'Onofrio, does kind of help push that plot. He's very authoritative and self-centered, but yeah. We don't get InGen in the first one. We get InGen in the second Jurassic Park, and obviously they're hunting down animals and trapping them. And here, we see them in the military-esque force that they have shown up as before. And it's cool that we established them because it does push into Fallen Kingdom, even though that movie was, falling apart. It was falling.
About it, though.
Yeah.
There's just weird things too.
Yeah.
Once you get past we're selling dinosaurs, then after the rest of it's okay. It's just that part's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We're having secret rich people auctions to buy dinosaurs. Like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Yep. And then of course at the end we get I always want to say megalodon. I don't think it's a megalodon. It's it looks like a megalodon though. And like a megalodon meets a Godzilla character, but yeah, I like the discourse in the park, the new invention, the gyrosphere.
Right.
Apparently that was,
Spielberg's idea. What I think is cool too is the first 20 minutes of the movie, before the action starts, don't you feel like this was you would visit this park? You have these seats that go down into the water and you can see the giant swimming megalodon thing, and you have these gyrospheres, and you have all this interactive stuff, and you're like in part of you secretly, the child in you wishes this was real until you realize it's a movie and the dinosaurs are going to eat you that you don't want it to be real.
Yeah. I like that. There's a cool motorcycle that's used in this film, and that's the one that Chris Pratt is on whenever they're trying to hunt the Indominus with the Velociraptors. He's got this Triumph, and if you're familiar with the Triumph as a motorcycle, it was very heavily used in Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. That's what Tom Cruise rides, and that's what my grandpa rode. That was one of my grandpa's old bikes. We got pictures of him on a Triumph. So it's I like seeing Triumphs on screen. I'm like, man, my grandpa rode on one of those.
Right.
But yeah, and then he got it after the film was made. There's also a callback, or it's a little Easter egg for the voyage home. There's the aluminum anthracite that the sphere shell is made out of. It's a fictional metal or a fictional material that was, that was created in the voyage home. And so that this was somehow mentioned here. So I don't know if Colin Trevorrow is a big Star Trek fan or.
Well, I know he almost made a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, he almost made a Star Wars film. But it's funny that that's in here because the Voyage Home was my first Star Trek film. So whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That they use the Voyage Home somewhere in this film. And we've got even more lore into some of the stuff that we like.
Which we have not done the Voyage Home yet. It's strangely not my favorite Star Trek movie. I know a lot of people love it. I like it, but it's not my favorite. I imagine we'll cover it one day since we did, 3 last summer, the summer before? Something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, Crichton, he wrote all the Jurassic Park books, and they used some of his ideas for the Indominus from the first book. I guess in the first book, this is a beast that is in that book. Right. So they brought it to fruition in this movie, which is cool because, I always felt like so much was used from the first 3 books that they would have had to go with the 4th book, which is, where the dinosaurs start to die off. Mm-hmm. And they always find ways not to touch on that, and to keep the franchise alive. They've been doing it so far.
I only read the first book and it was years ago. So yeah. I didn't even realize there were 4. I knew there was 2. I didn't even know there was 3 and 4. But yeah. But yeah, man, I'm gonna put you on Spires. We haven't done a sub feature in a while, but let's rank these movies, man. I think it's a good time ranking, even though we haven't covered all of them. Man. I personally would put at number 6, I would put Fallen Kingdom. At number 5, I would put Jurassic Park 3. At number 4, I would put. Wait, there's 6, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is my mind. Number 4, I'd probably put Dominion. And number 3, The Lost World. Number 2, Jurassic World. Number 1, the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Obviously, I think I would go.
Because I think 3 has enough redeeming values because it tries to stay true to the original. Where the reason I put Fallen Kingdom in last is there's things I like about Fallen Kingdom, but it goes so off the rails that it just, it almost derailed the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still, if I'm gonna say the worst film in the series, I'm still gonna go with Jurassic Park 3, even though I really like the raptor idea. I even like the Allosaurus that swallows the cell phone, and it keeps playing that weird cell phone music. It's very, very much like a horror movie whenever they hear that sound, because they know that death is upon them. And then I would probably go Fallen Kingdom, and then Dominion right after at 4, then Lost World, Jurassic World, then Jurassic Park.
Sort of lists are almost the same except for the end. That's fair.
Yeah. The top halves and the bottom halves are pretty much the same.
And I wonder how Jurassic World Rebirth is going to fall in. I've heard initial reactions are say they love it, and then some reactions are kind of in the middle on it. But I feel like with these movies, they're about giant dinosaurs. At the end of the day, I don't expect them to be perfect. I expect to be entertained. They're not going to win Oscars except for maybe special effects. And plus, it's got Scarlett Johansson in it, so I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, she looks great as a mercenary. Or
she's auditioned for Jurassic World and Jurassic World. She's auditioned twice before for one of these movies, and she finally got it.
Yeah.
So she's wanted to be in one. She loves the franchise.
And she's a good box office draw.
Yeah.
And then Mahershala Ali's in this too, right? I think
I think so.
I want to say that he's one of the soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, he could get Blade made, so you know, might as well make a dinosaur movie. You know,
yeah,
and
not doing anything, you know, so might as well go along with this one.
But,
yeah, Marshala Ali is in this one.
But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing. Like I said, I hope to see it next weekend when it comes out. I should be able to see it Saturday. I don't see why I wouldn't, and go enjoy some dinosaurs on the big screen. But I really do like Jurassic World, and I didn't realize it was the 10th anniversary of it, so it's kind of appropriate. We decided to do it this summer before the new one comes out, and it should be fun. But you know, it was a good week overall. Comicpalooza again. We had a good time despite some I'll just call them technical difficulties. And, you know, and talked a good movie this week, which is the only thing I had time to watch. I'm sorry I slacked off with what we watched this week, but I'll try to do better next week. Please forgive me, audience. And but before we get out of here next week, man, we are going to stick with a monster in a sense, and this time it's a giant shark. As we covered this movie, man, probably episode, I want to say like around episode one, between 140 and 160 maybe, or something like that. Okay. So it's going to be an episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast Revisits next week, as we are going to talk, because it's a 50th anniversary, and it's an important 50th anniversary. There's not too many movies that feel like they deserve to have their 50th anniversary celebrated. You know, Star Wars is coming up in a couple of years, but this is the movie that really kind of gets some credit for starting the summer blockbuster, and that is Steven Spielberg's Jaws. So next week we will go back and discuss 50 years of Jaws. Long's going to come join us for it, as he is a big fan of the movie. And that's not to say I'm not. I like the film too. But I'll be honest, I don't even know if I'd have this in my top 10 or 20 of all time. I think I do like Jaws, but I just don't know if I'd have it in my personal top 10 or 20 of all time. But I understand it's a complete classic, and it deserves to be celebrated for its 50th anniversary.
Yeah, obviously big impact on film and pop culture, and definitely belongs on the podcast in some form or fashion. So we're gonna talk about it.
Yep. So that's next week when we revisit Jaws, and until then, the rebelradiopodcast.com for all your the Rebel Radio needs.
Rubber Radio needs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Next on Rubber Radio, Trojans.
And on that note, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Thanks for listening. Remember, as always, just go there and do it with the rubbers.
Yes.